Normally we're laying on top of a 12-inch memory foam mattress, but as you can see, it ain't here right now. So what are we up to?
We are varnishing our interior, starting with our stateroom.
Not only are we varnishing, we're also going to be painting the massive locker underneath us right now. So let's get to it, right?
Let's go.
All right. Okay, so this is what the room looks like before. You can see we have some water problems. This port light leaks quite a bit. The wood in here is looking pretty sad. We got a lot of leak points like right there. In this locker you can see it's pretty huge, but there's quite a bit of mold down there because the previous owner put down, I would say, at least 200 or 300 feet of road and probably put it in there wet. So it's just kind of been stewing in there ever since. We're jumping on this early so we don't ruin anything. So we're going to take everything out of there, repaint the entire locker, and then we're going to put in a separate diesel tank, like an auxiliary. So that should take up a lot of that locker, and then we're also moving our water heater in there. These drawers are great, but you can see they're looking a little tired. All the little edges, you know, are very tired looking. Pieces like this are broken and just like come off. There's just a lot of areas in this stateroom that have some problems. So we're just gonna get right to it. See, there's a lot of lead down here. Obviously this boat likes to list to port. This is part of the reason why I want to build a tank for this side, because we need to build up some of this weight.
I am currently taking off all of the teak trim, and apparently there's a ton in here that I didn't really notice until I had to take it off. So I'm on my last few pieces, making sure I mark them as I go along so we know where to put them back after they're nice and varnished. And then we can start sanding down everything in here and revarnishing.
It's kind of chaotic in here. It's come time for us to take out our port lights, and that is quite the daunting task because we're gonna have a big hole on our boat. So just taking off the varnish right now, and wish me luck this goes smoothly, because I really don't want to repaint the cabin top of our boat. That would not be good. So I think we're gonna get it out. Here we go.
Full smash.
Alright, so the next thing to do in here is to make a cutout, because underneath here is it's a huge locker. It goes all the way to the hull, down and to the side, and we just can't get to it. I mean, we have a little tiny foot-by-foot access door on my left side over here, but you can't, unless you want to get all the way up into there and put stuff up there, you really can't do it. So I'm going to cut this out so we can really access and store as much stuff as possible to the side of the hull. This is what the locker looks like, cleaned up just a little bit. Next is time to break out the old sander and the old paint stripper.
The paint they use on our boat and all the lockers and the bilge, everything that's touching the hull in some way is failing. So a lot of times the paint chipping allows for a lot of mold to start, and that's really the main reason why we're redoing the lockers, is that there was a fair amount of mold. So I'm just kind of showing you the process of what we have to go through in every single locker on our boat.
then I'll come back in with an orbital, and that kind of, you know, scuffs everything up enough for the paint to really adhere to the sides. I've gone into all the lockers with a orbital and sanded them down to a healthy amount of fiberglass and paint, and now I have vacuumed everything. We are officially done with sanding fiberglass, so that's a good day by me. And now I'm just going to acetone the lockers. Wow, look how much stuff came out of my hair. So it's the next day after painting, and it was a great first coat, but I'm going to have to go back in for probably 2 more coats. Yeah, everything looks really good. Although it dried all night, there's still a few patches that were a little thicker that they're taking a little bit more time for them to dry. So I already done a coat of varnish on all the trim outside, and so far I've been just kind of fixing all of the water damage that we had in this area. So this had quite a bit of water damage here. And obviously we had a lot here. So that's why this veneer is all gone. I have replaced this veneer already and kind of ready for epoxy. Pretty darn good seam there. I'm happy with that. With the epoxy, it'll have a little bit of squeeze out, and then you'll never know after we varnish it. And now it's just time to do this last piece here. The reason this went so fast and so easy is that I was able to take off the old veneer, so I use it as like a mold. This one came off in a million pieces, so this is going to be a little bit more challenging to get the correct, you know, fit, but yeah, we'll see if I can do it. Fingers crossed. Alright, so this is the moment I've been waiting for here. Let's see if I got my measurements right. Oh man. Now, my measurements were pretty spot on. Super crisp. For the first time ever fitting it, I mean, crap, man, that's pretty darn good. We got the veneer cut earlier today, and now I have mixed up some thick epoxy on the back, and we're just gluing it in place. Every single time I've been thinning the helmsman varnish with some mineral spirits. We've done 6 coats now, and we have about 1 more, so I'm really happy how it's turning out. The reason I'm thinning the varnish is that when I put it on, it flattens itself almost immediately, so I don't have to be as careful as I would be if I was just brushing it on unthinned.
In addition to replacing our teak veneer, we decided that our headboard was far too damaged and we didn't want to buy another sheet of teak. Instead, we decided to replace it with our second favorite wood, red cedar, which we just so happened to have a supply of from our last project.
Now I've turned my attention to the varnish on all the walls in here. So you can see we have a lot of teak in here. I've already started with this wall, like all these walls back here, roughly done. It's just me going in there with an orbital. Right now I have been using some 40 grit sandpaper and just really knocking off the majority of the varnish. Obviously going quickly because I don't want to go too far, but anyway, so starting off with 40, and then I'm going to come back in with some 120, and then probably 220 hand sanding to finish it off. Okay, it's finally time to varnish. I feel like I'm going a little crazy because I've been staring at these walls for the past 5 days straight. But fully stripped, fully ready for the first coat of varnish. We just wiped it down with mineral spirits, so it's nice and clean in here. Minimal dust. Anyways, what we're going to be using is Man O' War. It's a marine spar varnish. The reason we wanted to use spar varnish instead of like a polyurethane is that spar varnish is going to let the wood breathe, because we're going to be going to Alaska, which is super cold, and then we're going to go down to Mexico, which is super hot. So the wood's going to be doing a lot of fluctuation, and we want to be able to let it breathe and not let it have a trap moisture, because that's when you see cracks and stuff like that in varnish. So for the first coat, we're going to be doing 50-50 varnish and mineral spirits. We're going to wipe it on with cheesecloth. That's kind of the method we've been using on all the varnish. That's not what we're going to do in here. The first coat, yes, we're going to wipe it on, but I bought an airless spray gun. I thought that's going to be the best way to get the flattest finish in here, because you can see some of these walls, like that wall over there. I mean, that's a 4x8 sheet. It's huge. So doing that all the way across it I don't think it would look very good. So we have the first coat on, and it's looking really good. Everything is taped off. I gotta be careful where I step because I don't really have the floor. And I am using a airless spray gun, just for the reason that these walls in here are quite large, especially the one behind the camera is about 4x8 feet. So it'd be really kind of difficult to get a perfectly flat varnish with rolling and tipping. Not impossible, but a little bit harder. I've never used one of these guns before, so I'm used to compressed air. I've never used an airless gun. So I'm going to practice on the cupboard doors and drawers in here before I go to the big walls, just because I want to make sure that I'm not going to mess it up. Okay, so time for our hopefully last coat of varnish. You can see everything's been hit with 400 grit sandpaper, and it's looking mighty fine. This is version 2 of the spray tint in here, because the original didn't have any ventilation. Now we have a screen to catch all the overspray, a box fan to get the air moving out of here. I should be able to see at least what I'm doing now. When I shot this yesterday, there was so much overspray in here, I literally couldn't see anything like 12 inches away from my face. So we got some more light today, we got some air. I'm excited for how it's going to turn out. So all we got to do now is just clean this up and just get shooting. Hopefully it's the last one. Taking extra precautions to make sure there's no more dust in there. Hence the reason I'm wearing this. And about to go into the tack cloth and just make sure all of the dust is gone. Hey, that varnish is pretty damn good.
Looks really good. Looks like glass.
It's good enough for us. Once the varnish was finished, I reinstalled a brand new headliner using the previous as a template. Good day, because I just finished putting all of the trim on, and wow, this bedroom looks very nice. I just got all the headliner in. Still has some scratches on it, but I just haven't cleaned it up yet. But as you can see, I mean, all of these trim pieces look really, really nice. They're all freshly varnished, all new fasteners, and yeah, it just looks so clean. Got a new light that I put in, fan. So yeah, this room's really coming together.
Getting ready to move our mattress back where it belongs.
everybody. So we have successfully moved back into our room, and today is the day that we're going to move all of our clothes from the V-berth all the way back into our nice, freshly painted, freshly varnished drawers. We've already put at least some of our shoes in this little locker down here. It's just so nice to have lockers that, you know, when you take stuff out, the paint's nice and perfect and there's no mold in there, and it's just a nice feeling. Makes it feel a lot more like home. This is my drawer. Before this was just bare wood. It just had a little bit of a dirty feeling, so we painted it with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum, and not only does it smell really nice and clean, but it has a nice gloss to it, which just makes it feel a lot cleaner. So that's really it when it comes to one of the last things to be done in this area. We got our new port light frame to put on the outside of our one port light right here. I had it water jet cut out, and I have to put that on today. And then eventually we're going to take out this guy and put new stainless steel frames on the inside and out, and then paint this whole wall here white. But just waiting a little longer to do that. But other than that, it's time to move back in. So I spent about the last 45 minutes going out these port lights with some Bright Boy and some Scotch Brite, and then that got it pretty darn close. And then after that, I went in after it with a buffing wheel, and I just buffed it really clean. It's not perfect, there is some pitting going on, but at the end of the day, they're not new port lights, and I can't afford the $600 replacements to get new ones. So these ones are just fine. They have a little bit of character, I might say.
The finishing touches on this project happened to be the beginning steps of our next, which was replacing the cabin sides and rebedding our port lights.
We have a whole separate video dedicated to the cabin side project, so without giving anything away, we will wrap up this video by showing you the final result.
It feels so nice to sleep in our stateroom after all the hard work we did.
Seeing the sun reflect off the freshly varnished walls is a really great feeling.
As always, thank you so much for watching our videos. We really appreciate it.
Good night. Crew's quarters. Even though I'm the captain, she said that she didn't like that.
We're co-captains.
Oh yeah.
I'm a stripper now.
Marissa's a stripper.
Buy an old boat, they said. Varnish isn't that hard, they said.